Did you know that the average American owns about 7 connected devices? That's right. From smartphones to smart speakers, our homes are filled with gadgets. But here's the shocking part. Research shows that more than half of us don't even use most of these devices regularly. Why do we keep buying more when we already have so much? In a world where convenience is king, it's easy to get swept away by the latest tech trends. Advertisements promise that new gadgets will simplify our lives. But often, they just add more clutter and distraction. A staggering 90% of people admit to feeling overwhelmed by their tech. So, why do we keep reaching for the next big thing? In this video, we'll dig deep into the reasons behind our gadget obsession. We'll explore the psychological tricks that keep us buying and the societal pressures that drive us to upgrade. You'll discover strategies to break free from this cycle and embrace a more intentional, minimalist lifestyle. Get ready to rethink your relationship with technology and learn how to live with less while enjoying life more. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Gadget Temptation. Why we crave the newest tech. Have you ever noticed how you feel when a new phone is released? You suddenly start to think your current phone isn't good enough, even if it works perfectly. That's no accident. Companies spend billions on marketing to make us feel that way. According to a study by McKinsey, the global electronics industry spends over $240 billion on advertising annually. That's a lot of money being spent to convince us we need upgrades we don't actually need. What's more, the psychology behind this is fascinating. The fear of missing out, FOMO, is a huge driver. Studies show that around 60% of people feel pressured to upgrade their tech because they don't want to be left behind. This is a natural human response. Our brains are wired to seek novelty. But here's the thing. Most of these upgrades offer very little in terms of actual improvement. Your phone might have a slightly better camera, but does that really change your life? Probably not. So, how do we fight back against the gadget temptation? One strategy is to ask yourself, does this new gadget solve a real problem in my life? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to pass. Another trick is to wait. Research shows that impulse purchases drop by 60% if you wait 30 days before buying something new. That's a huge difference, and it's a simple tactic anyone can use. Chapter 2. The False Promise of Efficiency. Are gadgets making us productive? We often buy gadgets because we think they'll make us more productive. But here's a surprising stat. Research from Stanford shows that after a certain point, more tech doesn't increase productivity. In fact, it can lead to a 25% decrease in efficiency due to distractions. So, while gadgets promise to save time, they often end up wasting it. Take smart home devices, for example. Sure, they can turn your lights on or order groceries, but is the time saved really worth the cost? When you factor in the hours spent setting up, troubleshooting, and updating these devices, the trade-off isn't always in your favor. This brings us to a key minimalist strategy. Focus on function over features. Instead of getting distracted by flashy tech, prioritize gadgets that actually add value to your daily life. Another approach is the one-in, one-out rule. Every time you buy a new gadget, get rid of one you no longer use. This forces you to really think about whether you need that extra item. Studies have shown that people who follow this rule feel less stressed and more in control of their tech use. It's all about intentionality, not accumulation. Chapter 3. Minimalist Myth-Busting. Can fewer gadgets do more? Minimalism isn't about rejecting technology entirely, it's about using tech with purpose. A lot of people think minimalists don't use gadgets, but that's a myth. In fact, some of the most intentional tech users are minimalists. Steve Jobs, for instance, was famously minimalist in his approach to design and product creation. He believed that the more focused a device is, the better it serves its purpose. Here's a great example. Did you know that 80% of smartphone users only use 20% of the features on their phones? That's a staggering number. We buy devices loaded with features, but most of us don't even scratch the surface. A minimalist strategy would be to find a device that meets your core needs and ignore the rest. Why pay for features you'll never use? Another useful tactic is to embrace digital decluttering. Decluttering isn't just for your physical space, it applies to your digital life too. Studies have shown that people who declutter their tech, by deleting unused apps or unsubscribing from email lists, report a 40% increase in mental clarity and focus. It's not just about less stuff, it's about less distraction. If you're finding this content valuable, consider subscribing for more insights into living a simpler, more intentional life. Chapter 4. The Minimalist's Paradox. When less is more meets tech obsession, there's an interesting paradox at play when minimalists find themselves drawn to the newest gadgets. You might think that someone committed to living with less would have no problem resisting tech temptations, but it's often not that simple. Even people who aim to simplify their lives can get caught up in the excitement of shiny new devices. This paradox happens because gadgets are marketed as tools for efficiency and simplicity. Ironically, that's exactly what minimalists seek. A survey by Deloitte found that 66% of consumers upgrade their gadgets simply because they want the latest model, not because they need it. Minimalists aren't immune to this desire. After all, tech promises convenience, and who doesn't want that? But here's where the minimalist mindset can help. Instead of getting swept up in the allure of the latest model, minimalists can focus on purpose-driven purchases. A minimalist might ask, does this device serve my life, or am I serving it? One great strategy is the utilitarian approach, buying gadgets only when they serve a clear function that enhances your life. If a device doesn't directly contribute to your well-being, productivity, or happiness, it's probably not worth the investment. Author Greg McKeown, in his book Essentialism, emphasizes the power of saying no to the non-essential. This applies to gadgets, too. By carefully curating the tech you own, you eliminate the clutter that comes with constant upgrading. Another tactic is to adopt a digital detox mindset. Just like you would declutter your home, you can declutter your tech use by setting clear limits on when and how you engage with devices. Studies show that people who set boundaries with their technology report lower levels of stress and higher levels of productivity. This balance is key to avoiding the tech obsession trap while staying true to minimalist values. Chapter 5. The Social Pressure Trap. Keeping up with gadget culture. Social pressure is a massive force behind our tech buying habits. We don't just buy gadgets for ourselves, we often buy them to keep up with what others have. You see your friends with the latest phone or your coworkers with a new smartwatch, and suddenly, your perfectly functioning device feels outdated. This is where social comparison comes in. Psychologist Leon Festinger introduced the concept of social comparison theory, which explains why we constantly evaluate ourselves against others. When everyone around you is upgrading their gadgets, it's hard not to feel the pressure to follow suit. One survey by the Consumer Technology Association found that 68% of people upgrade their devices because they don't want to feel left out. This keeping up with the Joneses mentality is rampant in the world of gadgets. But how do we resist it? One effective strategy is to practice mindful consumption. When you feel the urge to upgrade, ask yourself, am I doing this because I need the new features or because I want to fit in? This simple question can help you avoid falling into the trap of unnecessary tech purchases. Another helpful approach is to disconnect from social media. Platforms like Instagram and YouTube are filled with influencers showing off the latest gadgets. This creates a false sense of urgency, as if you need to upgrade now to stay relevant. A study by the Royal Society for Public Health found that social media contributes to feelings of inadequacy and FOMO, fear of missing out, driving consumerism. By taking regular breaks from these platforms, you can reduce the pressure to keep up with trends. Minimalists can also benefit from building a community of like-minded individuals who value simplicity over consumption. Joining minimalist groups online or in person can provide support and accountability. When you surround yourself with people who share your values, the social pressure to constantly upgrade starts to fade. If you found this discussion helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more insights on living a simpler, more intentional life. Your journey toward a more minimalist lifestyle starts here.